Good afternoon or good morning, everyone, depending on where you are zooming in from today. I'm Kaylin with METALCON, and I am joined today by Todd Miller of Isaiah Industries. Today's webinar is going to be a very exciting one, and it is on maximizing profitability and avoiding the pitfalls of steep slope metal roofing. It's a fantastic presentation that has been given in person at METALCON, and it was so popular, we decided to bring it back for a webinar. So again, thank you, Todd, for joining us today. Just have a few key items to get out of the way before we really and truly get started. First things first, I hope you all will be able to join us for our next METALCON Live, taking place February 12th of 2025, Accounts Receivable and Cash Flow Assessing, shooting down the top 10 cash flow killers. That's going to be presented by Thea Dudley, who will have just launched a brand new book. So we hope you'll be able to join her in that webinar. It's going to be a fantastic one. A few other things to note. METALCON call for presentations is now open. This is something very near and dear to my heart, and the call for presentations is open from now through February 28th. So if you have any topics that you think are pertinent to this group, please submit your sessions as soon as you can so we can review them. I look forward to seeing you not only at METALCON, but up on that stage presenting. Finally, if you want to receive a certificate of attendance, you can fill in the survey that will give you an auto download as soon as you're done with this webinar. That survey, all we really need is your first name and last name so we know what to put on that certificate, along with your email address so we know where to send it. There are a few other questions we ask, and we just hope you will be able to share your insights with us so we can do better with these webinars. So without further ado, I am going to hand this over to Todd. Todd, go ahead and get us started.
Thank you very much, Kaylin. I'm going to get my presentation queued up here, and we will be off to the races. So thank you very much, Kaylin. Pleasure to be here today, and thank you to everyone at METALCON. I hope everyone's making plans to attend METALCON this year. It was a great show last year in Atlanta, and we're looking forward to another great show this year as well. So hope everyone enjoys us and or is able to attend and enjoys it, and come see everyone at their booth. So thank you. So today we're going to talk about maximizing profitability and avoiding pitfalls in steep slope metal roofing. And I think this is a lot of this information is based upon things that I have learned over the years. So over the years, as a part of Isaiah Industries, a manufacturer of metal roofing, I have worked with literally thousands of contractors across the country, and I've worked with them and even beyond the United States as well. But I've worked with them as they have been through all various areas of their business, from startup to businesses that were at the peak, riding the crest, to businesses that maybe someone was starting to wind down, or maybe someone was trying to sell. And so I've seen all areas of those businesses. And so what I'm going to touch on today is really those key things that I've seen that become the key hallmarks of the companies that last in this industry. And I most of these things, because there's a lot of them, I will cover them at a very top high level, give an overview of them. I encourage anybody to feel free to contact me if at any point you want to discuss any of these things in greater detail. By the way, I believe there is an active chat box where you can put in your questions, and I think Kaylin's going to watch those. And if it's a question that's pertinent to what I'm talking about right then, she'll probably just pop in and ask it right then. If not, we may address some of the or we will address any remaining questions at the end of the webinar as well. So
Absolutely.
thank you, Galen. So in this presentation, we're going to focus on ensuring the profitability, success, growth of your metal roofing contracting business. And we're going to be looking at about a half dozen key areas as we do that. I'm going to start out by talking about the fundamentals of your business and how your business is set up. Then we'll talk more about the marketing and the positioning of your business. Then we're going to talk about the importance of watching your numbers, what those numbers are that you have to be watching and how you need to be watching them. Then we're going to talk a lot about building systems into your business, which, again, that has been a real key thing I've seen of the most successful contracting businesses out there over the years is they are highly systematized so that, if that owner gets sick, the business keeps running. On the other hand, in a systematized business, you don't have a business where the owner constantly feels like they're putting out fires. Anyone that tells me, oh, I'm just always putting out fires in my business, kind of tells me, okay, you haven't built a lot of systems into your business. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the importance of installation and how to make that a key hallmark of your business. Then we will talk about the very important pricing jobs, which I suspect will also tie into this next webinar METALCON is going to be doing as well here in a couple weeks. And then finally, I want to talk a little bit about having an exit strategy. All of this stuff we do to build our businesses doesn't really mean anything if we don't know where it's going in the end. And so I want to talk a little bit about that as well. So without further ado, as they say, let's get started. We're going to talk about your business, the fundamentals of your business and things to consider. So one of the things that we've all heard about in business, oh gosh, going back to the Tom Peters days in the 80s, for those of us who were around back then, is the importance of having a mission and vision statement for your business. And I still say that's important, especially the mission statement. But what we're finding more and more, and what I'm hearing from a lot of the leading experts and consultants out there, is that your mission, it used to be something that you would set and you wouldn't touch it for several years. But what we find is things are changing so quickly in the world today and so quickly in business. Technology is bringing so many new opportunities. Consumer trends, consumer habits are changing all the time. So the thing that everyone says is your mission anymore needs to be fairly fluid. If you lock in on one mission for 5 years, well, as you can well imagine, the way things change so rapidly today, you are completely outdated after a couple of years with that mission, perhaps. So the thing that I always tell people is before you even think about your mission statement, define your core values. And I describe core values as being the banks of the river. So you think of yourself in a boat going down a river. You're in that boat, you're in the water. You can't go outside the banks of the water. If you have, something has gone strangely awry. So those core values become those key things that you have determined in your business that these are the things that are important to us. These are the things we will do. Perhaps these are the things that we won't do. But the core values may be, you may have 5 of them, you may have 10 of them. I wouldn't make it too complicated. But again, you want to make sure that you have defined those core values. Now, what happens is as you add team members, you make it very clear to those team members that staying within the banks of your river, staying within those core values is going to be paramount to the success of your business and to the success of them in your business. So again, and lots of great examples you can find online of how to set core values and what good core values might be, but your core values need to be very personal to your business. And so you as the owner or manager of the business are saying, hey, these are the banks of the river. This is the way my company is going to behave. I also think of core values as being a litmus test. I don't know if anyone ever remembers from chemistry, but you take an acid and a base and you dip this paper in it, and the acid, it would change color, and the base, it wouldn't change color. So that was litmus paper. It's called a litmus test. So the way we think about core values is they become that go, no go test, that litmus test for any major decisions you make in your business. So if you do decide to tweak that mission statement, or you're trying to decide, okay, do we want to pursue this opportunity? Do we want to go after that opportunity? you weigh that within your core values and use those core values to let you decide whether that is a go or a no-go situation, based upon, okay, if we pursue this, are we still staying within our core values? So again, really, really important. I think above everything else, I still encourage having a mission statement, vision statement. I'm a little iffy on, to be honest, but the core values are extremely important to every business, and it's important to keep those front and center in front of all your team members, and to fully communicate those to new team members, even prospective team members. Someone coming to hire at your company really should be asking, hey, what are your core values? If they're not asking that, you need to be telling them that so that they know that, hey, this is how we live. This is how you're going to be expected to behave if you come to work for our company. Next thing I want to talk about is to make sure that you have a solid attorney, accountant, CPA, banker, bookkeeper, and insurance agent for your business. A lot of people will start a business and they'll say, oh, my brother-in-law will take care of that, or my sister-in-law will take care of the books. They might be talented. Maybe they are the right one to do that, but you need these trusted advisors in these key areas: law, finance, banking, and insurance. You need trusted advisors in all of those areas, who are going to guide you in the right direction, who are going to be there to tell you when, hey, you're about to stub your toe if you do this, you're going to step in it, who will be the ones to warn you and the ones who will be very truthful and honest with you. And again, ones who know their stuff. And in all of these areas, for the most part, there are folks out there who specialize in these areas for contractors, for the construction industry. And you may very well want to seek out someone who has that kind of specialist nature as well. So next thing I encourage is to build and maintain positive supplier relationships. A lot of things I will see with companies that don't stand the test of time is they tend to jump around in terms of suppliers that they use, and sometimes, frankly, they're jumping to wherever they have credit at that moment. I mean, let's face it, that can be a problem for some companies, and you got to figure a way through those things. But I encourage everyone to think about having long-term supplier relationships. For one thing, if that is someone is in the metal roofing industry, they're probably going to be getting leads. They're going to be looking for contractors to refer people to, and you want to have that relationship with them so that when they do get those leads, they're referring people to you. Hey, there's no thing better than a cheap lead or a free lead, right? So you want those relationships that are going to bring some positive payback to you other than just be a material supplier. Also, anyone who's been in the contracting business knows that there are times that you need special favors. I mean, you know, who knows what happens? Something gets damaged on a job site, or maybe that important customer suddenly comes in with a rush order or a change order you weren't expecting. So you want to have enough, as I call, change in the pocket of your suppliers, that they're willing to jump through some hoops for you when you need them to. And again, that all goes back to building and cultivating solid, positive relationships with your upstream suppliers. Obviously, another thing that you want to think about is making sure that you have all required licensing and insurances, everything that is required to be held where you're located and where you'll be working. And I know this sounds like a no-brainer, but I've seen plenty of folks start companies and even sell jobs just to discover, oh, I got to do something pretty serious to get a license to go install that job there. So you want to make sure that you got that. And again, that trusted advisor, such as an attorney or a CPA, will probably be able to help give you some solid guidance in this area as well. Obviously, you're going to want to know the building code requirements in your area. You don't want to go out quoting jobs different areas and realizing, oh, I misquoted this because I didn't realize that I had to use a fire resistant underlayment or whatever that might be. And this is something that we're seeing changing a lot. I mean, it used to be, you could depend upon building codes and requirements, what that building inspector is going to expect, being pretty consistent from community to community. And certainly, we still see some degree of consistency, especially underneath the ICC. But we are also seeing a lot of communities developing their own codes and their own requirements at this point. So that's why it's very important to know exactly what is going to be required and expected from you in those communities where you might be selling jobs and doing work. Next, I want to talk about is focus on installing quality products that meet homeowner expectations. We live in an age where people buy on the basis of your reviews and referrals from other people and what they've heard about your work. Frankly, even I, as a supplier, if I have a new contractor come to me talking to me about buying our products or installing our products, I go out and look at their reviews. I do a lot of background on them, which is pretty easy to do online anymore, to make sure that this is a company that does things right and doesn't have a lot of complaints out there. Well, the reality is sometimes your complaints are because you used an inferior product. Yes, sometimes they can be because you didn't install it properly, but a lot of times it's because you didn't use the right product for the application. So I encourage everyone to seek out those quality products that are going to meet the expectations of your homeowners and will be able to give them what they expect as a result of their investment. Next, I want to move on to marketing and positioning of your company. I'm going to cover a variety of things here, and some of these you may say that doesn't really apply to me. Well, the next one maybe does. So let's go. Um, there's something I learned a while ago, and my company does specialize in the production of what we call modular panels, various types of metal shingles. What I have learned is even if I am working with a contractor who says I'm only going to do metal shingles, I really don't want to have to do much standing seam for whatever reason. It can be a lot of reasons that might guide that for them, but that's become their core value. That's one of the banks of their river. So I encourage them, even if you don't necessarily want to sell standing seam, make sure that you have it front and center on your website because that consumer is going to be out there Googling metal roofing and they're probably in their mind's eye thinking a vertical seam panel. So if they happen on your website and they aren't seeing any vertical seam panels, they start to think, oh, this isn't metal roofing. I must be on the wrong site, and they back out and they go on. So I encourage everyone, even if your focus is metal shingles, make sure you have some examples of vertical seam products right front and center on your website as well. Next, I want to talk about make sure you establish yourself as the expert in metal roofing in your community. There are still lots of unknowns about metal roofing. People are still suspicious of construction contractors in general. And, there's all kinds of studies out there from the BBB and Angie and places telling you how people are so suspect of contractors. Well, what you want to do is establish yourself as the expert in your area. And you might do that in a variety of ways. You certainly can do it through content on your website. You might do it through some of your advertising and marketing, bringing helpful consultative information to folks, not just trying to sell them a product. Another thing I would encourage you is if you have a local radio station that might consider letting you host a home improvement show, that's been a great way for a lot of guys to really establish themselves as experts in their area. Same thing with your newspaper. What if your newspaper allowed you to write a home improvement column once a week? Look for ways that really establish yourself so that as consumers are out there thinking, I want a metal roof, I've heard some horror stories. I know that maybe not everyone's going to do it as well as some others. I want to find the best one in my area. Make sure that you have positioned your company so that they find you. I also encourage folks, as you think about your marketing, make sure you identify who your target customer is going to be. I have seen folks go into metal roofing thinking that their target customer is only the ultra rich. And that for most contractors isn't really the case. A lot of metal roofs are being sold it to more moderate income folks. One of my old sayings with the very ultra rich is only the ultra rich can afford to buy cheap. The rest of us need to make good decisions with our money and wise investments. So actually, that ultra rich customer a lot of times isn't even a good prospect for metal roofing because they have other priorities and other things that they're thinking about. Likewise, if you live in a community that has a lot of folks maybe who've retired on pensions, aren't as many of those around as there used to be, but there's still some. They might be in small, modest homes, but yet they know what their income is every month, and they are certainly a perfect prospect for a metal roof, especially a metal roof that might be sold on financing with a monthly payment. So figure out who that target customer is. That doesn't mean you won't sell to folks outside your targets. You certainly will. But at least all of your marketing, all of your messaging is going to be laser specific to that target customer that you most want to sell to. Okay, here's something that I discovered a number of years ago that really changes things for companies, and that is when they have a in-home sales presentation. And you want to make sure that this is a sales presentation that, again, is attractive to your target customer. But your sales presentation is going to have some key areas. You may start out by walking around their house, getting them talking about their roof, maybe pointing out some things, getting them to share some of their frustrations. You may then go into the house and start to do more in-depth needs analysis, figure out what is it you really want to accomplish with your next roof. And I kind of call that helping them set their purchasing criteria. So would you like to have your next roof be something that's energy efficient, something that's wind resistant, something that's going to last a long time, something that has recycled content? You're going to go through all that list of things, and some of them they're going to tell you, no, I don't care about that. So you don't write that down as being one of their criteria, but you want to define those specific criteria that they want to accomplish with their new roof. And then you can start to look at their roofing options, all the different products that they could try, and say, okay, how do they stack up against those criteria that we determined earlier? Does it fit your criteria or does it not? And then at the end, you may very well land that metal roofing fits their criteria. If it doesn't fit their criteria, that's fine. This may not be a metal roof customer. But if it does fit their criteria, then when you go on to present a price to them, if there is any price objection or sticker shock, as we call it, you can come back and say, well, let's revisit your purchasing criteria. Are there any of these things that you're maybe willing to give up on a little bit in order to get a lower price? And, that can go a couple of different ways. You may see that during their purchasing criteria, they wanted a very specific color that maybe is a expensive color. Maybe it's even a custom color. And then you come down to it, you find out, okay, well, I'm willing to not have that custom color if I can get the price more down in my budget. So again, you want to make sure that you have this very defined sales presentation for your in-home presentation. A lot of manufacturers will help you with that. They may have templated presentations that they'll make available to you, or they may customize for you. But you want to make sure that you know what that presentation is. You perhaps as the owner of the company may say, well, I don't really need a presentation. Okay. I would argue that, but okay, you sell your good number of deals without a presentation. When you go to add salespeople to your company, though, you want to make sure that they are selling the way that you are selling, right? And so that's where this presentation, this defined presentation comes into play, and you train them how to do that. So again, going through a typical sales presentation, you help them establish their roofing criteria. You find their pain. Their pain isn't the fact that they're concerned that it may leak in their attic. Their pain may be that if it leaks in their attic, a lot of personal mementos or family pictures and heirlooms might get ruined. You want to present their options as a roofing material, products they may choose, discuss whether those options meet their established criteria, present your product, discuss whether it meets their criteria, discuss the value of your product, and then close the deal. Again, you can then revisit those criteria if there are price objections when you go to close the deal. So here's something I always tell salespeople that I think really becomes I think it's really important. So everyone's run into a salesperson who goes through a spot where they just can't close any deals, and they get so frustrated. And what we find so often when they go through those lulls where they aren't getting any deals is they suddenly are starting to think about, I need to sell this deal to feed my family, to pay the mortgage, whatever. They have then switched so that they are going in that home and selling not to benefit the customer, but to benefit themselves. But the fact is, everything changes when they go back in that home and realize I am here to benefit the customer. They don't even think about themselves. They are there to be that customer's consultant, that customer's guide to the best possible roofing decision that they can make for them and for their home. Um, I think you want to make sure that you identify what it is that sets your company apart. And one of the things that has occurred to me in recent years, and I actually had an SEO expert tell me this a couple years ago. They said, we were in this huge race to fill up the internet for 15 years. Well, the internet's pretty full at this point. Anyone can go and Google metal roofing and end up with contractors and information and product, all kinds of options available to them. Websites about metal roofing are a dime a dozen. There isn't hardly a roofing contractor out there that doesn't at least say that they'll offer metal roofing. So what you want to do to differentiate yourself is not only be that established expert for them, but you want to focus on the customer experience. You want to focus on making this as pleasant of an experience for your preferred customer as you possibly can. And that customer experience starts from the moment that they first become aware of you. That may be your website, maybe it's at a home show, maybe it's at a television ad that you're running. But you want to make sure that everything you do from the very beginning of their experience with you, all the way through the sales presentation, all the way through the roof installation, all the way through to project completion, has a positive experience for them as the customer. And that is what will really set you apart from your competition. And it's also what will get you those good reviews and get you referrals as well. So make sure that you know what it is that sets your company apart from the competition. And you want to identify that with specificity and shout it, as I say there, literally from the rooftops. Now, think about this for a moment. Every contractor out there says, hey, we install a great roof for you. And that's not going to differentiate you from the competitors because that's what they're all saying as well. Now, you may go the direction of saying, hey, here's the training that we have, here's the credentialing we have, here's the certification that we have that our competitors don't have. That may be one way that you differentiate yourself. You may differentiate yourself by offering a product or a warranty that no one else is offering, to help, again, make sure that you are making apparent to your customer the things that they can get only from you that they can't get from somebody else. If everything they see from you is something they can get from everybody else, well, guess what? It just becomes a price competition at that point, right? You got nothing to differentiate yourself. Instead, if you truly have differentiated yourself, you can actually say, hey, if you can find a better deal from anybody else that gives you these exact things, we'll match their price. And you will know that because of the unique things your company does, that they can't match that. They can't find the exact same thing from anybody else. So think about differentiation. Think a lot about how do you maximize referrals. Now, this is kind of a crazy statement here, but I've done the math several times because it seems nuts. But if you get one referral job from every year from every previous customer you have ever had, your sales volume will double year after year after year. It's just exponential, and that's the way it works. So all of us, think about our marketing budget. We spend money on traditional advertising and all that type of stuff. What I encourage folks to do is save part of your marketing budget for what I call referral maximization. So let's say that maybe normally 15% of your annual revenue goes toward marketing. What if you just took 3%? And you dedicated that to your past customers. So you may do things with your past customers like every spring when the storms are coming through and it's prime referral season, send them a flower, drop off a flower at their house. You get a day where there's nothing for your crews to do, or maybe a rainy day, go out and power wash their driveway at no charge of a past customer. Do things, spend a little money on those past customers. A lot of times, what we want to do is we want to say, okay, to our past customers, if you bring me a referral that I sell, I'll send you out for dinner, or I'll send you $500 or whatever that might be. Well, it's your job to sell the deal, okay? It's their job to bring you the referral. So reward them in advance of bringing those referrals to you, and you'll find that they will bring them to you. So finally, talking about marketing positioning, um, wise statement here: never grow your business for growth's sake. And I've seen a few people do that. So they get pretty big and suddenly they want to get bigger. And for them, growth and becoming big is the only thing that becomes important to them. But what they find is that as they grow, their profit margins diminish and decrease. So I encourage everybody, when you're thinking about a growth strategy for your business, never grow just for the sake of getting bigger. You only want to grow in order to increase the profitability of your company. So let's move on here, and we're going to talk about watching your numbers. And I'm going to go through this fairly quickly because all of these are areas that can be dug into so much deeper, and some of them are going to require those trusted advisors to help you with it. But first of all, make sure that you're doing monthly financial statements. Things can change rapidly when you're not watching. And I've seen companies before that, oh, I just do a financial statement at the end of the year, or I kind of do one mid-year and we figure it out at the end. No, make sure that your bookkeeper, accountant, whoever, is bringing you monthly financial statements to show you things like profit and loss, your balance sheet, and what's happening to your cash. You want to make sure that you're watching these things very, very closely because, again, things can change quickly when you're not watching. They can change quickly when you are watching, but at least you can respond when they start changing quickly if you are watching. Make sure you know your lead acquisition cost. One of the things that's happening is marketing costs keep increasing. I know many, many years ago when I was new to this industry, most contractors would figure about 5% marketing cost in terms of their annual revenue. Again, today it's not unusual for companies to be spending 15%, 16% on marketing. So that lead acquisition cost keeps going up. And what that means is you have to make sure that your selling prices include the cost, what it cost you to get that lead. And so if you know that your marketing cost is running 15% and you sell a $100,000 deal, you doggone better well have $15,000 in that deal specifically for marketing. Make sure too that you know your appointment rate. One thing I encourage folks, again, as part of your system, part of your business, is to have in a designated appointment setter in your business. A lot of folks, the appointment setter is just whoever answers the phone, or yeah, I'll just leave it at that. But make sure that you have a professional appointment setter, someone who is very good at both those outbound and inbound calls, someone who can start to even help that customer start to think about their their roof purchasing criteria, help to get them feeling a little bit of pain that might lead them toward a good decision in terms of a new product. But make sure that you know what that appointment rate is, and therefore what your appointment cost is. So your lead cost is one thing, But if you're only setting appointments with 40% of your leads, then your appointment cost is a whole lot more than that lead cost, right? So you want to know what that is as well. Obviously, you want to know what your closing ratio is, and that, of course, ultimately allows you to determine how much you have to build into every sale in order to fund the marketing of your business. And number one thing that tends to hurt businesses is suddenly they realize they can't generate any leads, and a lot of times that's because they need to be spending more to generate leads, but they're not selling at a high enough dollar to have that money to generate leads. And we're going to talk about it more later, but accurate job costing is essential. You want to know how your business is attributing overhead. Every business has some overhead, those things you have to keep the lights on, and you want to make sure that you are also attributing those to every deal appropriately. And, chances are you're going to do that on the basis of maybe the value of the materials in that job. So you're going to say, okay, every time I sell a job that has $20,000 worth of materials in it, I know that I've got to have at least 2%, 4% in, or excuse me, 4,000 in there to cover the overhead of my business. I completely pulled those numbers out of the sky. Don't know how they apply to you, but you want to make sure you know some way that you're attributing overhead. Rather than attributing on the basis of materials, which I think is a good way to do it, you also could attribute overhead on the basis of your labor cost. But basically what it means that as the job gets bigger, you're going to be burdening it with more overhead simply because it's a bigger job. Um, had someone tell me years ago they referred to something called Chinese marketing. And Chinese marketing is the person who says, "Oh, if I can just sell one to everyone in China." But the reality is, you never make it up for it in volume. If you're not making money on one deal, you aren't going to be making money on 10 deals if you haven't done something different in your pricing of your product. So you want to make sure that your pricing does capture all of your costs. Now, finally, this goes back to making decisions in your business. Maybe you're trying to decide, do I invest in that new vehicle? Do I invest in that new roll former? Whatever it means, whatever it might be, you want to analyze what we call the ROI, the return on investment of any expenditure your business may make. And I say that you start that with something called zero-based budgeting. Zero-based budgeting means that we as an organization are not going to spend one penny unless we know that that penny is going to bring back an ROI. Unless I know that penny is going to bring back a penny and a quarter or a penny and a half, whatever that might be, I'm not going to spend it. So zero-based budgeting is a good way to think about your business. I encourage folks, my statement here, all that glitters is not gold that will make you money. And basically, what I'm saying there is, a lot of folks I see will drive themselves into difficult cash positions because they have pursued every latest gizmo, every latest bit of tech, every latest bit of equipment. They have pursued all this stuff, but again, did it have any ROI for them, or was it just an expense for them? So, statement here at the end, I was told by a CPA early on in my career. Remember, cash is king, and beyond that, there ain't no queen. So let's move on and talk about systems in our business. There's a great book out that I recommend called The E-Myth. There's actually a version of it called The E-Myth for Contractors. This was written by a guy by the name of Michael Gerber. Michael is still around. He's, gosh, well up into his 80s, but really smart guy. And what Michael talks about is the McDonald's philosophy. Okay, so McDonald's has the greatest turnover of employees of just about any business out there. Um, I heard the figure once and it was just shocking. I think their average employee is only there for like 2.5 months. So you think about that, but yet I go to any McDonald's in the world and what I find is consistency. That cheeseburger tastes the same in Altoona as it tastes in Albuquerque. And that's because of the systems they build into their business and because of their expectations and their training of their employees. And so even though those employees aren't there very long, they operate according to systems that make sure that that cheeseburger tastes the same in Altoona as it does in Albuquerque. So again, a great book is The E-Myth Contractor by Michael Gerber. I encourage you to check it out. Beyond that, make sure you have an org chart for your business. Your org chart should look at your business like 5 years down the road, know where you're going. And it's fine right now if that org chart has your name on every spot. I don't know, maybe that's the case, or has your name on every other spot. That's fine, but your org chart defines the positions you're going to be growing into, which gives you the roadmap of growth for your business. And over time, as your business grows and prospers and thrives, you're going to find you're going to be substituting new team members' names in for some of those spots that previously had your name in them. So have that org chart. Um, Focus on quality. I touched on this earlier, but nothing will drive a contractor out of business sooner than not paying attention to quality. And that quality is customer service, it's sales, it's the products you install, it's the way that you install them, it's the way you follow up afterward. Again, this all goes into that thing I call customer experience. But if your customer experience is not based upon quality components, then you're not going to be delivering a quality or a pleasant customer experience for that customer. So I do encourage you to focus on quality. Um, Again, what the E-Myth talks about is how to build systems in your business. So you identify the processes that have to happen in your business in order for that customer to have a good experience. And you identify those processes in terms of who does what, how to what quality they do it, when they do it, all those types of things. Now, what happens is as you build a systematized business, you start to think of your business differently. What we find is a lot of times in a business that is not highly systematized, if something fails, you automatically start finger pointing and saying, yeah, because they messed it up, because they didn't do it right. And you start poking fault at your team members. In a systematized business, though, when things don't go right, you instead start to look at the systems. Okay, what system broke down? Maybe didn't work this time for some reason. So we need to go back to the drawing board and revise it. What system did someone maybe not follow? But it's about the system, and you bring them back to the system. Or you may say, gee whiz, that happened because we never defined how we're supposed to be doing that. And so you may find things that you simply don't have, and you need to add to your business. And a lot of what the E-Myth teaches you to do is to develop those systems focused on written action plans. Again, those action plans define who does what, when they do it, and to what level of quality they do it. Encourage everybody, embrace the younger workforce. They are not going to go away. We have to make sure that we adapt to what the younger workforce wants in order to perform well. I could talk all day about that, and I probably have at points, but make sure that you are realizing that, hey, I got to embrace the younger workforce because that is the future of my business. Encourage you hire folks for smarts and for core values fit. Make sure you hire people that are going to fit within the culture of your company. Make sure you hire people who value your core values the same way you do. The reality is, skills can be taught, but a person's integrity and their work ethic rarely change. And so, many times in my business, and I've heard other business owners say this, they hired somebody not even knowing exactly where that person was going to fit in their business, but they knew that that was someone that was going to fit in their business in terms of culture and core values. So hire for smarts, hire for culture, hire for core values more so than skills. You can always teach and train on skills. Um, Talk about installation, roof installation. So first of all, keep safety and your safety program paramount. This helps you attract new employees. Safety is something you can talk to your prospective customers about because no one wants to hire a contractor and then have someone get hurt on their property. So you're going to talk a lot about your company's safety program and what you do to ensure the safety of your workers and to ensure compliance with OSHA as well as any other regulations out there. One of the things I've seen a few contractors do over the years is they see their installers not as partners, but as someone they make money off of. So they say, well, I won't pay them as much on this job and I'll make more money on it. That's just not the way the successful companies do it. So you want to make sure that you have positive relationships with your installers. Again, real shortage of workers out there. You want to make sure that you can consistently get the highest quality workers for your business. So you're going to be honest and fair with them. You're going to create clear expectations, which may go back to some of those action plans, may go back to your core values. And then even if it's a subcontract crew, because you have identified these expectations, you have something to hold them accountable to. Invest in your crews. I mentioned earlier, skills and things can be trained, certain things can't be. So go out and invest in training. Take advantage of training offered by your suppliers, your manufacturers. NRCA has also developed the Pro Certification Program, which is a skills assessment test for folks who know what they're doing. That is now available both for vertical seam panels and modular metal shingles. So I encourage you to check out NRCA Pro certification as well. Um, Minimize waste on job sites. And a lot of times that does come down to good installation practices. Fact is, metal roofing is expensive. If you run a 20% waste factor on a job and you could have gotten by with a 5% waste factor, well, guess what happened? That 15% is your profit, it's your marketing budget, whatever. But you're not getting what you deserved and what you should have had on that job because you were not maximizing efficiency in terms of product use. Talk a little bit about pricing jobs. Again, so important to know what your job costs are, especially early on. Get help from your suppliers. Let your suppliers build materials lists and quotes and material costs so that you know exactly what your costs are on every job that you have done. Again, you want to know your historic numbers, which will help you with costing on future jobs so that you can price things properly. Talked about this earlier, but make sure you're allowing for marketing costs and your overhead costs as needed. 15 to 18% is not an unusual industry benchmark for marketing costs. Your overhead costs may be 5%, 10%. Again, you got to define it, you got to identify it, and make sure it becomes part of your cost buildup when you price jobs. I highly encourage folks to offer financing. In fact, I encourage folks to assume that your customer is going to finance the roof. It's very easy in your sales presentation to talk in terms of monthly payment amounts. And then if that consumer comes back and says, oh, well, we don't need to finance, we can pay cash, that's fantastic. You actually just paid them a compliment. And so they're a little tickled that you did that. But for the customer who will be financing the roof, you make it very comfortable for them to do that. Pretty common for me anymore to talk to metal roofing contractors and find that roughly 40 to 60% of their jobs are financed. So, speaking along financing, think about this. What is your competition in when selling a metal roof? A lot of times folks think of it as being another metal roof or something. Um, I contend that in most cases, your competition for selling that metal roof is that customer's next car, especially if you're talking in terms of selling financing and selling a monthly payment. You're going to be asking them maybe to delay their next purchase of a new car, to put up with that old car for another 4 years or whatever. in order to make those payments on getting a better roof for their home. And again, it's a different way of thinking about things, but I really believe that in a lot of cases, when you're in the home selling a metal roof, what you're asking them to do is to delay their next car purchase, not just invest in an upgraded roof. So think hard about that. Another thing I wanted to touch on, we're just about to wrap up, and I think there's some questions we'll cover. A lot of times contractors will ask me, well, I sell a lot of asphalt shingles. I generally generate asphalt shingle leads. How do I convert my business so it starts selling more metal? And what I encourage you to do in terms of that is when that lead comes in, to your appointment setter asks them at some point, well, how long do you intend to stay in your home? If they say anything that sounds like 10 years or more, then your appointment setter comes back and says, oh, well, that's good. A lot of our customers say that also. And a lot of times we find those folks who stay in their home long term kind of prefer a longer term roofing product so that maybe they won't have to replace the roof again, in a few years or 15 years or whatever. Would that make sense for us to bring some longer term roofing products to your house when we come visit you? And if they say yes, you're off to the races, and chances are they will. Now, you notice there, I didn't necessarily say, can we bring metal roofing options to you? And the reason I didn't do that is that, again, everyone offers metal. You want to keep a little bit of mystery in it. And you ask, would it make sense for us to bring some longer term roofing products for you to look at? Now, they may say, oh, do you mean like metal? And you'd say, well, yeah, that could be one of them. But, would it be okay if we bring some longer term products? And again, they say anything that sounds like yes, you're off to the races in terms of being able to present a higher profit item for them. So finally, I want to talk about the importance of knowing your exit plan. You're building a business of value once you start selling metal roofing. You have already chosen to differentiate yourself from other roofing contractors. So I encourage you to think about that and think about your exit plan. And most folks who are in business will say, well, someday I'll sell my business, and they may even plan on that being their retirement. That may or may not be a good idea. But they'll plan on selling that business, but a lot of contractors, when they go to sell their business, they find that the value basically is some used equipment, and there's just not a lot of value there. Maybe a couple of trucks. I don't know. But if you have set your company up to be something truly special by doing all these things we just talked about for the past hour, you have built value into your business so that when you go to sell your business, it truly is worth more, and it is something more special than other roofing businesses out there. So that actually here's some resources. METALCON, great show. Metalconstruction.org is a great organization for more technical information. Metalroofing.com is the trade association for the market development of residential metal roofing. I encourage you try develop those close relationships with your manufacturers and suppliers. And I encourage you, feel free to reach out to me, todd.miller at isaiahindustries.com. You can find me easily on LinkedIn or other places out there on the World Wide Web as well. So I am going to stop sharing here, and we will see what we've got as far as questions. Or I'll just leave that slide up, I guess, if you're going to ask them, Galen.
That's perfect. Yep. So we have no questions right now, but as I'm doing my outro, please share any questions you may like. I am monitoring that webinar chat as well as the Q&A section. So please submit any questions you have as I'm chitter chattering away. So Todd, thank you so much for joining us today. And of course, we are so looking forward to having you at METALCON this year. And again, thank you so much for being a part of our advisory council for the second year in a row, I believe. Might be the third year you're on it. But please, everyone, as a reminder, the METALCON education is live. And as Todd was saying earlier about getting your certificates, getting that extra information for your installers, for your people, METALCON is a great place to come to get that. Not only do we have AIA credits for every single course that we offer, we also maintain Florida contractor learning credits. So if you are a contractor in Florida, we're a one-stop shop for you as well. And of course, we do have the MCA metal roof installation training. We offer low slope detailing. There's so much you can get by coming to METALCON, and I hope to see you there. Todd, again, thank you so much for this amazing presentation. You're getting kudos from a gentleman named Eric in our chat right now as well. So thank
Thank you,
you.
Eric. Thank you, Kaylin. I want to thank everybody. And again, I love talking about this stuff. I mean, sure, if it turns into a conversation about my business, I won't turn that down. But I love talking about this stuff with anyone who's trying to learn and grow their business and be more successful. Again, I've been at this a long time. I know I look like a kid, but I've been at this a long time and have seen businesses thrive and I've seen businesses fail. And I've seen businesses in all stages of their growth and their maturity and their age. And I enjoy sharing the things that I've learned that have become, what to me really are the obvious hallmarks of businesses that thrive, not just survive.
Awesome. And I wanted to say we have a question that has come in for you here. So that question is going to be, how do you deal with customers who want a metal roof, but they live in a $100,000 home and the roof is going to cost 40K?
Well, it's a good question. And, one of the nice things about metal roofing is, we do have pretty wide variety of products in terms of cost and in terms of, frankly, to some degree, quality as well. And the only thing I always tell everybody is, if you want to sell a variety of products, metal products at a variety of price points, the biggest thing is just be sincere with folks, be honest with folks, be upfront with them in terms of the advantages and disadvantages of those options so that hopefully you can find them for a price point that fits their budget. And again, think about financing. Now, that also may be the customer that may be a hard one to finance. I don't know. And certainly sometimes you run into projects you just simply can't get. But I would encourage you to think about the variety of products you offer, your price points, being upfront and honest about those, and offering financing.
That's perfect, Todd. We have no other questions right now. So I will say thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the questions, everybody, and we will see you all soon. And this video recording will be available on YouTube within 24 hours. So thanks again, everyone. Thank you, Todd. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks so much.
Okay. Bye, everyone.